I'm here today to tell you a little bit about Esoteric Islam and Tafseer Masoomeen is what I'll be going over today. Well, I won't go over it, but I'll share something in regards to it. In certain times and place, and continuing today, some people realize when they pick up their scripture that it's addressing them, specifically addressing them, their lives, the situation going on otherwise, that it's a contemporary text. In one way or another, this is something that they are coming to realize. And, the example of the imams, whether you're talking about the 12 or whether you're talking about a more broad sense of those who lead the prayers, and Surah 4, 165, 17, 71, 5, 3, 2, 124, and most of all 36, 12, are ones that are attached to various doctrines about that idea, but I am not saying that these doctrines per se are true, but they have a idea behind them, and that is somebody who can pick up the scriptures and find out the sayings of the prophet of the age and are the examples or teachings, and follow them directly. No need for secondary interpretations. They can just follow these directly. They understand that these are applying to them, to the life at the time, not just some explicit example. And I mean, some of them are prophetic in non-personal ways, but what value is a scripture that doesn't directly speak to you, that you can't experience, that you can't believe in for other, you can't have faith in, that it's just something people tell you to believe and you believe. So you start with the prosaic teaching, and then it becomes hermetic. It becomes, authentically something that you believe, that's something that you practice, something that you can explain to others, that, hey, this is talking about now, because there's people like that while the book and stone is satisfactory, they're not even trying to become a living word. They're not trying to, they can't follow anything except the explicit example. You find in the Islamic tradition, you found examples of people who they couldn't figure out what to do with rice because they were told the ethics of how to trade food and stuff like this, but rice wasn't one of the examples, so they couldn't follow that. They'd avoid rice and wheat because they didn't, wheat and barley was something they had, but there was other, if they couldn't find an example, they wouldn't do it, even if it applied to the teachings. Now, there are other examples where people say there may not be a clear text, but honestly, anybody who challenges me to say any good or truth that's not in here, maybe I can't think of the reference instantly, but I thus far have found every challenge. And there's also the aspect of, any evil, any ignorance or lie or whatever you want to call it, that is not in here, just say it. That's the challenge. Any good, any truth that is not promoted, any evil, any ignorance that is not condemned in the broad or the specific form. Of course, as I said before, it goes beyond that. the rights of learning and practicing, well, the right of practicing extends towards all of life. And that's what it is. It's not just some empty prayer. An hour's meditation is worth more than years of mindless service. That's a saying attributed to Prophet Muhammad. I think both the Shia and the Sunni traditions interpret that way. That, you know, there's greater merit in, you know, being full in it. But that doesn't mean that you go, you know, in the spirit of Tafseer, you got to do it as a Masoomeen, you know, as an innocent one. You know, you're human and people expect you to sin, but you don't have to sin. They expect you to run your mouth about things you don't know about, but their example is to stay silent. And I've recently, in the seasonal thing, that Revelations 12:1, the prophet as the sun, his female family as the moon, and the 12 stars as that lineage, and they learned from each other. They learned about what the prophet had to say. The people who transmitted it was, you know, their histories have been looked into. It's not just some general guy, Paul, John, or Mark, heard it, investigated the case. Some things were supposed. I mean, nobody was contemporary. It's nothing like that. There's a rich history behind these things, and you can be a continuing part of these histories without necessarily looking at the conservative traditions behind those. You can refer to those, that's perfectly fine. But it's about you. It's about the inner life brings things to this whole new level. The psychic and the spiritual realms are there for you to, rather than just being satisfactory, which don't renege on the, you know, if you aren't keeping the letter of the law, the spirit of the law is kind of pointless to you, because you're not, how can you have the spirit? I don't care what it is. It's like, if you don't care about having orthodoxy and orthopraxy, you can experience all you want, but the spirit of the law is not there. But if the spirit of the law is there and you occasionally mess up, you're gonna get yourself back on the right path. But in terms of what is best for you, someone else's interpretation may not be the best for you. I've rambled too much here, but always feel free to comment and question and like and subscribe and all that stuff, you know, respectfully and